Get off of me, boy. Yeah, man. It's Shilo.
And DJ.
Welcome back to Reading with Shilo.
Welcome back to Reading with DJ.
We're about to get into chapter 10.
Yeah, chapter 10.
Of the narrative of the life of Frederick Douglass. Chapter 10. Get off.
Chapter 10. Chapter 10.
We're going to see what Mr. Frederick Douglass is talking about. Second to last chapter. Second to last chapter. Shalom, shalom, shalom. How you doing? Watch your baby, boy. Watch your baby. It's really about Mr. Douglass. Mr. Douglass. Chapter 10. The narrative of the life of Frederick Douglass. Like how Mr. Frederick Douglass. Chapter 10. I left Master Thomas's house and went to live with Mr. Colby. On the first, hold on. DJ, look, I'm about to sit because I can't. All that flippy floppity. All them flappity flippers.
I know.
Alright, well, you. I left Master Thomas's house and went to live with Mr. Colby. On the time in my life, a field hand. In my new employment, I found myself even more awkward than a country boy appeared to be in a large city. I had been at my new home but 1 week before Mr. Colby gave me a very severe whipping, cutting my back, causing the blood to run, and raising ridges on my flesh as large as a little finger. The details of this affair are as follows. Mr. Colby sent me very early in the morning of one of our coldest days in the month of January to the woods to get a load of wood. He gave me a team of unbroken oxen. He told me which was the in-hand ox and which one was the off-hand ox. He then tied the end of the large rope around the horns of the in-hand ox and gave me the other end of it and told me if the oxen started to run, that I must hold on upon the rope. I had never driven oxen before, and of course I was very awkward. However, succeeded in getting to the edge of the woods with little difficulty. But I had got a very few rods into the wood. But I had got a very few rods into the woods when the oxen took fright and started full tilt, carrying the cart against the trees and over stumps and in the most frightful manner. I expected every moment that my brains would be dashed out against the trees. After running thus for a considerable distance, they finally upset the cart, dashing it with great force against the tree and threw themselves into a dense thicket. How I escaped death, I don't know. There I was entirely alone in a thick wood in a place new to me. My cart was upset and shattered. My oxen were entangled among the young trees, and there was none to help me. After a long spell of effort, I succeeded to get my cart righted. I lost my place. My bad. There you go. After a long spell of effort, I succeeded in getting my cart righted, my oxen disentangled, and again yoked to the cart. I now proceeded with my team to the place where I had, the day before, been chopping wood, and loaded my cart pretty heavily, thinking it was this in this way to tame my oxen. I had not consumed one half of the day. I got out of the woods safely and now felt out of danger. I stopped my oxen to open the wood gates, and just as I did so, before I could get hold of the oxen rope, and the oxen again started rushing through the gate, catching it between the wheel and the body of the cart, tearing it to pieces, and coming within a few inches of crushing me against the gate post. This Thus, twice in one short day, I escaped death, and how it happened. He ordered me to return to the woods again immediately. I did so, and he followed after me. Just as I got into the woods, he came up and told me to stop my cart, and that he would teach me how to trifle away my time and break gates. He then went to a large gum tree and with his axe cut three large switches. Oh Lord. And after trimming them up neatly with his pocket knife, he ordered me to take off my clothes. I made him no answer. I made him no answer, but stood with my clothes on. He repeated his order. I still made him no answer, nor did I move to strip myself. Upon then he rushed at me with the fierceness of a tiger, tore off my clothes and lashed me till he had worn out his switches, cutting me so savagely as to leave the marks visible for a long time after. This whipping was the first of a number just like it, and for similar offenses. I lived with Mr. Covey 1 year, and during the first 6 months of that year, scarce a week passed without him whipping me. I was seldom free from a sore back. My awkwardness was almost always his excuse. My awkwardness was almost always his excuse. We were worked fully up to the point of endurance. Long before day we were up. Our horses fed, and by the first approach of day, we were off to the field with our hoes and plowing teams. Mr. Covey gave us enough to eat, but scarce time to eat it. We were often less than 5 minutes taking our meals. Excuse me. We were often in the field from the first approach of the day till the last lingering ray had left us. And at saving fodder time, midnight often caught us in the field binding blades. Covey would be out with us. The way he used to stand it was this. He would spend the most of his afternoons in bed. He would then come out fresh in the evening, ready to urge us on with his words, example, and frequently with the whip. Mr. Covey was one of the few slaveholders who could and did work with his hands. He was a hard-working man. He knew by himself just what a man or a boy could do. There was no deceiving him. His work went on in his absence almost as well as in his presence, and he had the faculty of making us feel that he was ever present with us. This he did by surprising us. He seldom approached the spot where we were at work openly. If he could do it secretly, he always aimed at taking us by surprise. Such was his cunning that we used to call him amongst ourselves the snake. When we were at work in the cornfield, he would sometimes crawl on his hands and knees to avoid detection, and all at once he would raise nearly in the mist and scream out, "Aha! Come, come, dash on, dash on!" Got your ass. Oh, you ain't working? I like to do stuff like that. I like to hide in my house, behind doors and closets, and jump out on unexpected break. Oh man, I get the children. Oh man, I be getting the boys good. Oh man. Ha ha! Come on, come. Dash on, dash on. This being his mode of attack, it was never safe to stop a single minute. His comings were like a thief in the night. He appeared to us as being ever at hand. He was under every tree, behind every stump, in every bush, and at every window on the plantation. He would sometimes mount his horse, as if bound to St. Michael's, a distance of 7 miles, and then half of an hour afterwards, you would see him coiled up in the corner of the wood fence, watching every motion of the slaves. He would, for this purpose, leave his horse tied up in the woods. Again, he would sometimes walk up to us. Oh, excuse me. Thank you, sir. Thank you. He would again sometimes walk up to us and give us orders as though he was upon the point of starting on a long journey, turn his back upon us, and make as though he was going to the house to get ready. And before we would get halfway thither, he would turn short and crawl into a fence corner or behind some tree, and there watch us till the going down of the sun. Yeah, the going down of the sun. His forte consisted in his power to deceive. His life was devoted to planning and perpetrating, best in the shape of learning or religion. He made confirm to his disposition to deceive. He seemed to think himself equal to deceiving the Almighty. He seemed few men would at times appear more devotional than he. The exercises of his family's devotions were always commenced with singing, and as he would read his hymn and nod at me to commence. I would at times do so, at others I would not. My non-compliance would almost always produce much confusion. To show himself independent of me, he would start and stagger through with his hymn in the most discordant manner. In this state of mind, you better run. You better run. You better run. In this state of mind, he prayed with more than ordinary spirit. Poor man, such was his disposition and success at deceiving. I do verily believe that he has sometimes deceived himself into the solemn belief that he was a sincere worshiper of the Most High God. That's not how you ask for the water. No, Daddy, can I have some of your water, please, Dad? Now you better ask correctly. Oh, you're not gonna get no water. I'm gonna drink it all. Daddy, can I have some of your water, please?
Yes, sir.
No, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Or no, sir.
Yes, sir. Sir.
Daddy, can I have some of your water, please? Yes, sir. Here you go. And this too, at a time, God, and this too, man. And this too at a time when he may be said to have been guilty of compelling his woman slave to commit the sin of adultery. The facts in the case are these. Mr. Covey was a poor man. He was just commencing in life. He was only able to buy one slave, and shocking as is the fact, he bought her, and he said, for a breeder. This woman was named Caroline. Mr. Covey bought her from Mr. Thomas Lowe, about 6 miles from St. Michael's. She was a large, able-bodied woman, about 20 years old. Excuse me. She had already given birth to one child, which proved her to be just what he wanted. After buying her, he hired a married man of Mr. Samuel Harrison to live with him 1 year, and him he used to fasten up with every night. The result was that at the end of the year, the miserable woman gave birth to twins. At this result, Mr. Covey seemed to be highly pleased, both with the man and the wretched woman. Such was his joy and that of his wife, that nothing they could do for Caroline during her confinement as being quite in addition to his wealth. If at any time of my life more than another, I was made to drink the bitter. We were worked in all weathers. It was never too hot or too cold. It could never rain, blow, hail, or scarcely more the order than the day of the night. The longest days were too short for him, and the shortest nights were too long for him. I was somewhat unmanageable when I first went there, but a few months of his discipline tamed me. Hey, calm down, son. Calm down. Now, while I'm reading, okay, just be quiet. Hey, push it down. Go ahead, push it down. Push it down. Go ahead and get it out of the way so y'all can sit up there. All right. Mr. Covey succeeded in breaking me. I was broken in body, soul, and spirit. Spirit. That's right. My natural elasticity was crushed. My intellect languished. The disposition to read departed. The cheerful spark that lingered about my eye died. The dark night of slavery closed in upon me, and behold, the man in a sort of beast-like stupor between sleep and wake. Under some large tree, at times I would rise up. A flash of energetic freedom would dart through my soul, accompanied with a faint beam of hope that flickered for the moment and then vanished. I sank down again, mourning over my wretched condition. I was sometimes prompted to take my life and that of Covey, but was prevented by a combination of hope and fear. My suffering on this plantation seems now like a dream rather than a stern reality. Our house stood within a few rods of the Chesapeake Bay, whose broad bosom, Chesapeake Bay. That's right. You better hold on. You better get you a good grip, my boy. Of the habitable globe, those beautiful vessels, robed in pure, to terrify and torment me with thoughts of my wretched condition. I have often, in the deep stillness of the summers, with a saddened heart and tearful eyes, the countless number of sails moving off to the mighty ocean. The sight of these always affected me powerfully. My thoughts would compel utterance, and with an apostrophe, you are loose from your moorings and are free. I am fast in my chains and am a slave. You move merely before the gentle gale, and I sadly before the bloody whip. You are freedom's swift-winged angels that fly round the world, and I am confined in bands of iron. Oh, that I were on one of your gallant decks and under your protecting wing. Alas, betwixt me and you, the turbid waters roll. Go on, go on. Oh, that I could also go. Could I but swim, if I could fly? Oh, why was I born a man, of whom to make a brute? The glad ship is gone, she hides in the dim distance. I am left in the hottest hell of unending slavery. Oh God, save me. God, deliver me. Let me be free. Is there any God? Why am I a slave? I will run away. I will not stand it. Get caught or get clear. I'll try it. I had as well die with ague as the fever. I have only one life to lose. I had as well be killed running as die standing. Only thinking of it, 100 miles straight north, and I'm free. Try it, yes, God helping me, I will. It cannot be that I shall live and die a slave. I will take to the waters. This very bay shall yet bear me into freedom. The steamboat steered in the northeast course. Hey, calm yourself, calm yourself. Hey, calm yourself and use your words to talk to me. Deep breath. Take a deep breath. In, out. In, out. Now talk. Now come on and talk. Tell me what's up. Use your words. Calm yourself. All right. All right, let's read. Let's read. I will take to the water. This very bay shall yet bear me into freedom. The steamboat steered in the northeast course from North Point. I will do the same. And when I get to the head of the bay, I will turn my canoe adrift and walk straight through Delaware into Pennsylvania. When I get there, I shall not be required to have a pass. I can travel without being disturbed. Let but the first opportunity offer, and come what will, I am off. Meanwhile, I will try to bear up under the yoke. I am not the only slave in the world. Why should I fret? I can bear as much as any of them. Besides, boy, I am but a boy, and all boys are bond to someone. It may be that my misery and slavery will only increase my happiness when I get free. There is a better day coming. Thus I used to think, and thus I used to speak to myself, goading almost to madness at one moment. Intimated that my condition was much worse during the first 6 months of my stay at Mr. Covey's than in the last 6. The circumstances leading to the change in Mr. Covey, you have seen how a man was made a slave. You shall see how a slave was made a man. On one of the hottest days of the month of August in 1833, Mr. Bill Smith, William Hughes, a slave named Eli, and myself were engaged in fanning wheat. Hughes was clearing the faned wheat from before the fan. Eli was turning. Smith was feeding, and I was carrying wheat to the fan. The work was simple, requiring strength rather than intellect. Yet, to one entirely unused to such work, it came very hard. About 3 o'clock of that day, I broke down. My strength failed me. I was seized with a violent aching of the head, attending to with extreme dizziness. I trembled in every limb, finding what was coming. I nerved myself up, feeling it would never do to stop work. I stood as long as I could stagger to the hopper with grain. When I could stand no longer, I fell and felt as if I held down by an immense weight. The fan, of course, stopped. Everyone had his own work to do. No one could do the work of another. And I have his own go on at the same time. Mr. Covey was at the house, about 100 yards from the trading yard, where we were feigning. On hearing the fan stop, he left immediately and came to the spot where we were. He hastily inquired what was the matter. Bill answered that I was sick, and there was no one to bring wheat to the fan. I had by this time crawled away under the side of the post and rail fence by which the yard was enclosed, hoping to find relief by getting, come on, man, relief by getting out of the sun to the spot. And after looking at me a while, asked me what was the matter. I told him as well as I could, for I scarce had strength to speak. He then gave me a savage kick in the side and told me to get up.